Jesus says, "Lo, I stand at the door and knock." Jesus is knocking on the door of your heart today.
Christ spoke many words of his suffering, but only one of his glory. Yet the disciples fasten upon that and overlook the others. Many love to hear and speak of privileges and glory, who are willing to pass by the thoughts of work and trouble. Our Lord set a little child before them, solemnly assuring them that unless they were converted and made like little children, they could not enter his kingdom. Children, when very young, do not desire authority, do not regard outward distinctions, are free from malice, are teachable, and willingly dependent on their parents. It is true that they soon begin to show other dispositions, and other ideas are taught them at an early age. But these are marks of childhood, and render them proper emblems of the lowly minds of true Christians. Surely, we need to be daily renewed in the spirit of our minds, that we may become simple and humble as little children, and willing to be the least of all. Let us daily study this subject, and examine our own spirits. Verses 7 through 14. Considering the cunning and malice of Satan, and the weaknesses and depravity of men's hearts, it is not possible that there should be offenses. God permits them for wise and holy ends, that those who are sincere and those who are not may be made known. Being told before that there will be seducers, tempters, persecutors, and bad examples, let us stand on our guard. We must, as far as lawfully we may, part with what we cannot keep without being entangled by it in sin. The outward occasion of sin must be avoided. If we live after the flesh, we must die. If we live through the Spirit, mortify the deeds of the body, we shall live. Christ came into the world to save souls, and he will reckon severely with those who hinder the progress of those who are setting their faces heavenward. And shall any of us refuse attention to those whom the Son of God came to seek and to save? A father takes care of all his children, but is particularly tender of the little ones. Verses 15 through 20. If a professed Christian is wronged by another, he ought not to complain of it to others, as is often done merely upon report, but to go to the offender privately, state the matter kindly, and show him his conduct. This would generally have all the desired effect with a true Christian, and the parties would be reconciled. The principles of these rules may be practiced everywhere and under all circumstances, though they are too much neglected by all. But how few try the method which Christ has expressly enjoined to all his disciples. In all our proceedings we should seek direction in prayer. We cannot too highly prize the promises of God. Wherever and whenever we meet in the name of Christ, we should consider him as present in the midst of us. Verses 21 through 35. Though we live wholly on mercy and forgiveness, we are backward to forgive the offenses of our brethren. This parable shows how much provocation God has from his family on earth, and how untoward his servants are. There are three things in the parable. 1. The master's wonderful clemency. The debt of sin is so great that we are not able to pay it. See here what every sin deserves. This is the wages of sin, to be sold as a slave. It is the folly of many who are under strong convictions of their sins, to fancy they can make God's satisfaction for the wrong they have done him. 2. The servant's unreasonable severity towards his fellow servant, notwithstanding his Lord's clemency toward him. Not that we may make light of wrongdoing our neighbor, for that is also a sin against God. But we should not aggravate our neighbors wronging us, nor study revenge. Let our complaints both of the wickedness of the wicked and of the afflictions of the afflicted, be brought to God and left with him. 3. The master reproved his servant's cruelty. The greatness of sin magnifies the riches of pardoning mercy, and the comfortable sense of pardoning mercy does much to dispose our hearts to forgive our brethren. We are not to suppose that God actually forgives men and afterwards reckons their guilt to them to condemn them. But this latter part of the parable shows the false conclusions many draw as to their sins being pardoned, though their after conduct shows that they never entered into the Spirit or experienced the sanctifying grace of the gospel. We do not forgive our offending brother aright if we do not forgive from the heart. Yet this is not enough. We must seek the welfare even of those who offend us. How justly will those be condemned who, though they bear the Christian name, persist in unmerciful treatment of their brethren. The humbled sinner relies on a free, abounding mercy through the ransom of the death of Christ. Let us seek more and more for the renewing grace of God, to teach us to forgive others as we hope for forgiveness from Him.